Hello, my beautiful crafty friends. I am Katia with Lunar Sun Creations, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. So last week, I showed you how to make this simple, beginner-friendly journal. Okay, so it's just one element per page and tons of space for journaling, okay? And I used my own Peacock papers, which are available in my Etsy shop. So that's what I showed you how to do last week. And I told you that in part 2, we would be making a kind of like an amped up version of that first album. Base page design is the same. However, each page has extra elements to it. They're fairly simple elements, nothing crazy, but each page has some extra things to it, just to elevate it just a little bit. So it's still a beginner album, but just a little bit more is all. All right, this one here is a what do you call them? Accordion fold there, and then opens out to the sides like that. And then over here, we've got this one that goes up and then up again, and then this one goes out and out again. And then this has a small trifold, and then this opens out like that. Okay, so today we are going to go over how to create this album. So for this one, I used the Minte papers. Oh, I forget what this one was called. Today I'm also going to be using Minte papers, but they will be graceful. Last time was something summer, I believe. Anyway, you can use whatever papers you desire. So first we're going to get our supplies ready, and I'll show you those, and then we'll move forward. Okay, so for materials, an ATG gun. This is actually optional because you can just do score tape instead of, or double-sided tape instead of the ATG gun. I use the ATG gun for adding the pattern paper, and for the actual construction of the album, I use a combination of just white glue and score tape. You'll need a ruler, paper trimmer, scissors, disc magnets, your scoreboard with your bone folder and scoring tool, both of which I can't seem to find at the moment. I'm going to have to look for those. And then, of course, you will need your cardstock. So I'll be using black. And then you'll need a few pieces of 12 by 12, and then for the rest I'll be using 8.5 by 11. Some Tyvek, that's what we'll be using for the spine of the album, and then chipboard, a medium to heavyweight chipboard for the cover. Optionally, you can use Distress Oxide and an ink dauber to ink the edges of your pages. That's just an aesthetic thing. That's not absolutely necessary. Okay, perfect. So let me get this all out of the way, and then we will start construction. Okay, so we're going to need 3 base pages for this album. The album that I showed you in part 1 had 5 base pages, but because we are doing more interactive elements, we only need 3. Like, just with 3 pages, it's already that thick, so you definitely don't need more than that. I did go over this in part 1, but I'm going to quickly just show you how to do this in case you haven't seen part 1. So the measurement for the base pages is 9.5 by 11. So on the 9.5 inch side, we're going to score at half and at 9 inches. And then we're going to rotate the paper and score down the center at 5.5 on the 11 inch side. So do that to all 3 of your pieces. Then we are going to put score tape on just 1/2 of the 1/2 inch sections. So just up to the middle score line. and then we're going to cut off this whole bottom part of the score line, or bottom part of the 1/2 inch section, like this. So just following the score line until you get to the center score line, and then we're just going to cut out at an angle, and then we're going to miter these corners as well. Okay, and then we are going to fold and crease all of our score lines. I'm just going over this really quick because I did go over this in a little bit more detail in part 1. Okay, and then I'm going to remove the score tape backing, and I'm going to add just a little bit of wet adhesive. I've just got mine in a, I just transferred my white glue just to a smaller bottle for ease of use. So I like to use the score tape and the wet adhesive together. That's just a preference. It does definitely help in the longevity of the adhesive. So I find that if you just use score tape, after a couple years the score tape is going to break down, and you will lose adhesion in a lot of parts. Okay, and then we're just going to fold it over just like that to create your base page. So open on one end and then closed on the other 3 sides. Okay, so get 3 of those made. Okay, so every one of your base pages, each one of your 3 base pages is going to get 2 A pieces. So the A piece is 8 3/8 inch by 6 inches. Okay, we're going to score at 1/2 and 5/8 on the 6 inch side. Okay, so do that to all 6 of your A pieces. We already covered this in part 1, so I'm just going to do the one to show you, and then we will move forward with new stuff. Alright, so we're putting score tape on the 1/2 inch section. We are making sure there's a little gap between the score tape and the score line itself. Okay, and then we're going to see how there's like an indent and then a raised part of that score line. We're going to fold away from the indent and give it a good crease, and we're going to crease that other second line as well. We're doing this little gusset here. See that little space there, that little gusset? So we're doing that because there's going to be extra elements that this piece is going to need to fold over in some cases. So this is your first page, so it's going to be going on to the left edge of the first page. Flip it over, this would be page 2, so it's going on the right edge of page 2. And then the left edge of page 3, right edge of page 4. So alternating like that for all 3 of your pages. Okay, so get all of those on. If you have any questions, you can go back to part 1 and recap on that, but I'm assuming that probably quite a few of you already have your album to that stage already. Okay, so then moving on, we're going to go, I'm going to kind of go in an assembly line fashion. So I've got pieces B through to G. I'm going to give you the number of each that you will need, and we're going to cut them all out, then we're going to score them all, and then we're going to add them all. Just that's the way I like to roll, and I feel like that is the easiest way to go. So we've already got our A's. Okay, so our B pieces are going to be 4 7/8 inches by 5.5. Okay, 4 7/8 by 5.5. You're going to need 4 of them altogether. Okay, each of them is going to be scored at 1/2 on the 4 7/8 inch side. Okay, so all 4 of them score at 1/2 on 4 7/8. Okay, now set those aside for just a second. I'm going to put a paper clip on them and just write B. Okay, and then, so we're going to score everything and then we'll add our score tape. So the C pieces, you're going to need 5 of those, and they measure 4 3/4 by 7 1/4. And we are going to score those at half on the 4 3/4 inch side. So along the long side. Okay, so you need 5 of those all together. I've already done a couple in advance. I've been making quite a few of these albums for markets, so I do have some of the pieces already ready. But I'm just gonna write C on that one. All of the letters that I'm writing are gonna be covered up, so don't worry. This is just to keep everything organized. So your D pieces, you're going to need 8 of them, and they measure 4 3/4 by 5 3/8. 4 3/4, 5 3/8. We're going to score each of them at half on the 4 3/4 inch side. So do that to all 8 of them. Okay, perfect. So those are our D's. Put a little clip on them. Write a little D. Boop, boop. Fantastic. We're going to need 5 E pieces, and they measure 3 1/2 inches by 8 1/2 inches. And we are once again scoring at half, this time on the 3 1/2 inch side. Okay, so those are the E's. Okay, we're gonna need 3 F pieces. They measure 4 1/4 by 11, and we are going to score these ones, surprisingly not at a half. We're gonna score them at 5 1/2 on the 11 inch side. Okay, so those are the F pieces. And lastly, we have got 2 tiny little G pieces. These are just going to be little hinges, and they measure 1 inch by 4 1/4 inches. And we are going to score those at half on the long side, like on the 1 inch side. So down the center, and they are going to be little hinges. Okay, so those are all of the pieces that we're going to need. We can put our scoreboard away now. The next step is to add score tape to every single 1/2 inch section. Okay, so we're going to add it onto the valley side, so the side that has the indent, and we're going to make sure that there is a tiny space between the score line and the score tape itself. And we're just going to add score tape to every 1/2 inch section for all of the pieces. So the F piece is the only one that won't get any score tape because it does not have a 1/2 inch section. And then we're going to miter the corners. I'm just going to miter them all at the same time just because they are all the same size. And that just saves a bit of time. Okay, so there you go. Those are the B pieces. Then we've got our C's here. Because I've been making so many of these, I'm kind of just realizing that this is just the fastest way to do it. And I've been making kind of multiples at once. So I'll do like all the bits and pieces for, you know, 3 albums all at once, and it just saves so much time, so I'm able to make things a lot faster. And then I'm able to, you know, not charge quite as much as I would because my time is quite a bit less, right? Okay, and then the D's. Okay, I don't know what I missed there because my camera turned off, it was out of memory. I was just saying that the F pieces don't need any score tape because they don't have any 1/2-inch sections, but the 1-inch little hinges, we're just going to put score tape on both sides, fold them over, and then cut just a little bit at an angle off each end so they look like that. Okay, so now we can fold and crease every single one of our score lines, and then we can put stuff together. So I'm going to fold and crease everything off screen just because you got this part. So we're just using our bone folder to crease everything. So keep them all organized in the B's, C's, D's, E's, etc., etc. And then when we come back, we'll start putting it all together. Whoop whoop. So grab your first base page. Your opening is on the left-hand side, as well as your first A piece is also on the left-hand side. We are going to take all 4 of the B pieces, and 2 are going to go at the top and the bottom, and then 2 are going to go on the sides. Okay, so I'm going to do the top and the bottom first. So I am going to add a little bit of wet adhesive to the score tape, and then I'm going to adhere it to the top. Okay, and then another one at the bottom. I tend to smooth out the adhesive with my finger, just so that there's no big globs. Okay, so there's your top and bottom. If you are using the wet adhesive, make sure that you get any excess that may have seeped out, because you don't want that to be making your page not be able to open. So then we're going to open these, and we're going to put these 2 centered top to bottom on the left and the right. Now you do have an option. You can put the left one on the A piece and then open this up and put the right one actually on the base page so that it acts as a closure when this is all closed. So just close these for a second. So if you do decide to put it on the base page, you won't be able to open this part until you open this part. I hope that makes sense. Here, let me just show you in the book. So right now I have both my left and my right on the A so that you can open the A, and then this is the inside. But if you put it on the, if you put this part over here on the base page, then you have to open this first, and then you can open the base page. It doesn't really matter, it's just a design decision. I'm going to put everything on the A. Okay, now I'm just going to eyeball this. Feel free to measure it exactly. Okay, and then we will mirror that with this last B. Now you don't have to do the pages in the same order that I'm doing them. If you want to switch it up, or if you want to use the design elements twice in a page, or like twice in the album instead of using other ones, like that's fine as well. Like make it your own. Do what your heart tells you to do. Okay, there we go. Let's just make sure we don't have any excess adhesive. Okay, so these two are going to close, and then these are going to close over top. Now, if you do find any resistance, see, this is it's a little bit of resistance here, which means that we have to trim just a smidge off these bees here. Now that can happen sometimes. That probably means that I just have it just off just a tiny bit in my, I'm not quite over far enough. So I'm just going to trim just a tiny little smidge off each top and bottom bee piece here. Like it's just a sliver that I'm taking off, just to make sure that they fit well. Okay, perfect. There we go. Give everything a nice crease here. And then we're going to put one magnet on this page, well, one set of magnets. So I'm going to find my score tape. What have I done with it? Oh my gosh, where is it? Found it. Okay, so I'm just going to put a tiny little piece of score tape over here, making sure that there's at least a ½ inch around it so that the pattern paper will have room to cover the magnet. I've got 2 magnets that are magnetized together there. Another tiny piece of score tape over top of it. Okay, and then close that up to adhere the second magnet, open it up again, and then I'm going to put some score tape over top of both of those, just because the magnets are quite strong and I don't want to, sometimes they just come up again. So this is just to keep them in place until we decorate. I'm still encountering just a tiny bit of resistance, so I'm just going to trim maybe just a smidge more. Apparently my eyes are not nearly as good as I thought they were. Oh yeah, I can see over here I've got like 1/8 of an inch, so I'm way off. But that's okay, there's always ways to fix things, always, always. I've learned to not panic. Oh, that's perfection. Okay, fabulous. While we've got our magnets out, I'm just going to put a magnet from the A to the base as well. So same process, little piece of score tape, a couple magnets magnetized together, score tape. So making a little magnet sandwich, close that up. Now when we're adding the magnets throughout this album for the closing the A to the base, you want to make sure that you're going to stagger them. So for the first page, we'll put it in the like kind of in the center up and down, and then for the next page we're going to put it a little bit higher. Third page we'll put it a little bit lower, just on this A to base page, just so the pages don't magnetize to each other when you're trying to open them, because the magnets are really strong. All right, so moving on to the page 2. So you've got the opening is now on the right hand side, as is your A piece. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly show you what the page 2 will look like. So we've got 4 of the C's this time, and they're going like that, alternating, okay? So 4 C's, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to center them top to bottom on the A. Now alternatively, if you wanted to, you could have them on the inside of the A or right on the base page, but I want to make it a journal so that the inside of each one of the pages is just white paper for journaling. But like I said, you feel free to, you know, do your own design, do your own thing. I'm just going to add some wet adhesive to this. And I'm just going to eyeball this one. Okay, and then we're going to put the other one on the other side. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of close this one just so I can have them completely even with each other. Okay. Okay, so for the third and fourth C, we're just going to add them right on top of where we did the first time. So the third C is just going to go right here, and then the fourth C is going to go right on the edge of the second one we put down, and then they're just going to alternate. Okay. Alternatively, just so you have another option, instead of putting it on the outside edges, you could put them on the inside edges. So in this case, you'd have one that opens like that, and then one that opens to the left or to the right, and then like that. I'm just gonna do the same as I did in the first album, not to confuse you, but I just wanted to show you that there is other options. Such an overcomplicator of things. I always want, I'm like, oh, but I could do this, and I could do this, and I could do this. It's it's a problem that I have. Oh gosh. It's just so many options. Okay, and then this one's going to go on the right side of the right C. I'm glad that some of you have commented that you also kind of overthink things, because it makes me feel not as alone. Okay, so there we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we are going to put one magnet closing all that up. Okay, so same process. And you could put these pieces on the inside as well if you so decide. Okay, and then I'll also put a magnet on the inside of here. You can, since there is a magnet over here, you could just let it do double duty and just use that magnet. So we're letting it adhere to the magnet that's on the other side of it. And that saves us a magnet. Just remember that on the next base page, you want to make sure that the magnet that's on the inside of the A base is either up here or up here, just a little bit apart, so that it doesn't adhere where you don't want it to here. Okay, so that is 1 and 2. I'm just going to mark on here page 1 and 2, just so we keep everything in order. That's 1, that's 2. Okay, I'm just going to quickly show you again what page 3 will look like. So 3, I forgot to mention that the metal embellishments, you don't have to use those. That's completely a personal choice. So I just left the front of page 3 blank, and all the elements are on the inside of the A piece, okay? So this is just a very simple waterfall, okay, with one piece that closes it, okay? So your next base page, make sure that, again, the opening is on the left-hand side, okay? And then we're going to take 6 of the D's, okay? We're going to open it up, and we're going to add 5 going from the top and 1 from the bottom. Okay, so again, kind of dry fit to make sure that you've got enough space. You want to make sure that the pieces are not going into the gusset. Okay, so make sure that this little space right here is not being covered by your piece. So open that one up, and I'm just going to leave a little bit of a gap and then put the next one down. So I'm just going slightly under the 1/2 inch section of the first. Okay, so just a little bit under that 1/2 inch section. And then we'll just keep doing that for 5 of them. Now, if you wanted to, just as another option, because I love my options, you could do 3 going up and 3 going down. Just to put that out there. So many variables and possibilities and ways that this can be done. It's very, very cool how many options there are. It's almost confusing though. It's almost confusing in the ways that you can do it. My brain just like spins in all the different ways, even with like simple elements like this. Like there's not even any crazy pop-ups and stuff. The simple elements are, you know, there's so many fun things that you can do with them. Simple is not boring. I am telling myself that all the time lately. Okay, so those go like that, and then the bottom one goes like that to cover over it. And then I'm not going to put a magnet yet because I'm going to use a one of the cut-aparts from the collection as a closure for that. Okay, so that is page 3. Flip it over. You've now got page 4 with the A on the right hand side. Let me just show you what page 4 will look like. Okay, so 4, we've got an accordion on the front, and then 2 of the E pieces, and then it opens like that. Okay, so the E is on the left and the right. Okay, make sure we haven't got any rogue adhesive. Okay, and then on the left E piece, we're going to use 2 of the F pieces and 1 of the hinges. Okay, so first we're gonna just place one of the F's onto like kind of the center of the page, and we're going to adhere our second F on top of it via the G piece. So it's going to open up like this and be an accordion. Okay, so first I'm just going to remove the backing from 1/2 of our hinge and add our wet adhesive. Okay, so you want the opening of the hinge to be up. We can actually move this out of the way and just work on the actual F pieces. Okay, so we're placing it at the bottom of the F where the opening is, and the opening of the hinge is facing up. Okay, get rid of that extra adhesive. Okay, and then adhere the other side of this hinge. To the bottom of the second F, but at the back side. Okay, so now when you open it up, it does that. Okay, so this is going to sit right here. It is going to adhere to the left E, and then there's going to be a magnet on the right side going to the right E. But because I don't know what pattern paper I'm using specifically for this piece, at the moment we're just going to use, if you have repositionable tape, that'd be fantastic. Otherwise, I'm just going to use just a tiny piece of score tape just to set it in place temporarily. Okay, so just a little piece of score tape like the size you'd use for a magnet. And I'm just gonna place it where I want it. I think that looks about centered. And I'm just doing this so that I can add a magnet over here and get it in place. Okay, so the same process to add a magnet. 2 magnets magnetized together. Add a little bit more score tape. Okay, and then make sure we're still even and close it up. Okay, now we can add score tape over top of those magnets, and then when we do add our pattern paper, this will be ready to go. We should also add 1 set of magnets to the actual F so this part isn't flopping around. Okay, so 2 magnets at the top. Okay, and close it up. Add some score tape over those. Okay, so that closes that down. Now we'll want magnets closing this part. Okay, and now the only part that's still open is this part here. Now we do have, let's see if we can use the magnets that are already there. Yes, okay, perfect. So we're just going to use 1 magnet on this last part to try and, so we don't have 3 full sets. Try and save magnets wherever we can. Okay, perfect. And let's just put some score tape over that one. Okay, the last thing we need to do for page 4 is to put a magnet going from the A to the base page. So I'm just going to put this one just a little higher than we did for the last page. Okay, perfect. Close it up and put some tape on. Okay, perfect. So that is page 4. Let's just quickly write on that so we know what's going on. So that's 3. This is 4. Again, don't worry about the numbers because we're going to be covering them up. All right, grab your last base page and your opening will be on the left-hand side. Okay, and the A is also on the left-hand side. We're going to need 2 D's, an F, and a G. Okay, so our first move is to add 1 of the D's at the top of the A. Okay. So right at the top of A. Okay, and then we're going to open it up and we're going to add the second D at the top of the first one, okay? Just make sure that this will close really well still, and it looks like it's perfect. Okay, so now this opens like this. Okay, so now we're going to use the little G hinge to attach an F piece, and the F is going to open like that and then like that. So we're going to attach this to the back of the F, and then it's going to open like this. Okay, so you have a choice. You can either adhere it to the bottom right edge of the A piece, or you can open this whole thing up and adhere it to the bottom right edge of the base page, which I think is what I'm going to do, and just kind of make this a bit of a locking mechanism. Okay, so adding some adhesive. Okay, and the opening is going to be that direction, and we're going to put it right at the bottom right of our page. Straight, Katia, straight, straight, straight. Ba, ba, ba. Ah. Okay, saved it. Oh, no, I did not. Jeepers. Get on there, sucker. All right, perfect. So that's there. Make sure we don't have any. I'm going cray-cray with the glue today. Jeepers. Okay, so then close this up and push this over top. And now we can add our F. Now it's just going to be slightly underneath the C, or vice versa, depending on which way you add the magnet afterwards. Okay, I'll turn it this way just so it makes sense to you. Okay, so we're just going to add the folded side to that F, or the G hinge, I mean. Adding the F to the G. Okay, and then A will, or jeepers, and then C will close down. The C's will close down like that. The D's will close down like that. Okay, so you've got your D's going up and up, and then you've got your F going out, out, and then that allows that to open. Okay, so now we can add some magnets. So one magnet going from the inside of the D's to the front of the A. Now if you don't have magnets, or you don't want to use this many magnets, like there are other ways to close things. I should maybe do a video on like just closures. If anyone is interested in that, let me know, and I will do a video on just all the different ways that you can close pages down. So instead of using magnets. So let me know in the comments if you're interested in that, and I'll look into doing something like that. Okay, so that one there, and then, oops. And then we want one going from the back of the F to here, but then also one going, keeping the F itself closed. So we'll do this one first. And because we're using the F as a closure for the page, we don't actually need to add a magnet going from the back of the A to the base. So this kind of like saves us a set of magnets doing it this way as a locking mechanism. I love the magnets, but I am trying to find ways to like not have quite as many. I do love them as a closure. They're my favorite for sure. The snap of the magnet is just so satisfying. And the fact that you can't see it, you know, they're so thin. Okay, so then when we open just this single part up, we can use that same magnet again. So I've just got one solitary magnet there. Okay, and then we'll close that up. Okay, now we can add our tape covering over each one of those magnets. Okay, fantastico. All right, flip it over and let's do our final page, page 6. So obviously we just need the rest of the pieces, right? So we need our last C, and then we need 3 E's, and that should be all of the pieces. The C piece is going to be centered on the right-hand side of the A. So center this top to bottom. It's going to try and get over this a little bit so I can really see it. I'm still a little high. I think that's about good. So there is our C piece. And now one of the E's, the first E, you can either place it at the left of the A, or you can open the A and put it on the left edge of the base, which is what I'm going to do to use it again as a locking mechanism like we did in the last page. Okay, so just right on the very left edge of your base page. I think I might have gotten that a little crooked, but that's okay. Okay, now I'm closing the A, and I'm going to add my next E piece. Onto the right edge of the first. Now, as an alternative, if you wanted to, you could do what we did with the E's in the last one and have it on the inside and flipping out, but I want it to be an accordion, so I'm going to have it on the front, front right edge. Oh, make sure it's right at the edge, though mine is not. Oh, let's try it again. Okay, and then the last E is going to go on the left edge of that second one we put down so that it will pull out like that and be an accordion. Okay, so we're just going to put a magnet going from the back of the C to the front of the E. We also want one going, see how this is popping, it's popping up like this. We don't want it flopping around. So we want one going from one E to one part of the E to the next part of the E. I might be able to utilize this again. Let's see. Let's see if through the paper. There we go. Okay. I mean, ideally it'd be better to have it over here, but I think this will still work. Let's see. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that'll keep it closed. Perfect. Okay, so let's add our tape over top of these. Okay, I'm just going to write 5 and 6 on here. All right, fabulous. So those are our page designs. Okay, now we can work on the cover. So you'll need 2 pieces of medium to heavyweight chipboard that are 6 1/4 inches by 9 inches. You'll need 2 of them. And then you'll need 2 pieces of cardstock that are 8.5 by 11 to wrap the covers. So I've already done one because we did cover this in part 1 of this tutorial. So I'm not going to go over it super detailed. I do have some double-sided tape and from a large roll on the back here. So I'm just going to remove that backing. Add some wet adhesive, kind of smooth it out just a little bit. Okay, adhere it down centered onto your cardstock. Add score tape all the way around the entire perimeter of your chipboard. Once you have your score tape all the way around, we're going to miter the corners. So we're going to go in at a slight angle until we hit the corner and then angle out. Okay, so just to the corner and then angle out. So it's got a slight angle to it. Instead of just going straight across and straight up, it's just got a slight angle. Do that to all 4 sides. Okay, and then we are going to fold all of these up and around the chipboard. I'm just kind of helping them to understand what I want them to do. Just training them a little bit. So for each side, I'm just going to remove the tape backing, add a little bit of wet adhesive, and then fold it up and over. Okay, so just like that, do that to all 4 sides. Okay, so now you should have 2 pieces that look like this, and now this is where the Tyvek comes in. So you're gonna need 1 piece of Tyvek that is, mine's about 23 inches long by 5 inches wide. Have 2 strips that are the same length, so it's the full opening of the envelope, so I cut it like this in the widths that I need, and then cut it open along the seam to create, so then it's like this whole way around is my length. Okay, now if you can't find Tyvek or you can't find black Tyvek, I mean, in a pinch you can use duct tape, but Tyvek is definitely preferable. You can find, a lot of people say they have trouble finding Tyvek, but I mean, I've seen it online in eBay, Amazon, like so many craft stores, office supply stores, so it is fairly readily available. So I'm sure you should be able to find it. Okay, but before we add the Tyvek, I want to get our binding system done. So let's just quickly do that first. Okay, so I'm not sure, my camera ran out of memory, so I'm not sure how much of that you missed. Now we're gonna do our binding system. I did record this once, but of course I didn't realize that it wasn't actually recording, so we're doing it again. You're seeing my messy notes over here. This was a fail. This was a success. So you need a piece of cardstock that is 8 1/4 by 10 1/2. Put it in your scoreboard, and I'm gonna give you a whole bunch of numbers. Try to keep up. I'm gonna put the numbers on the screen so you can take a screenshot if you like. I'm just kidding. You can watch this a couple times. We're starting with 1 1/2. 1 3/4, 2, 2 1/4, 3, 3 3/4, 4 3/8, 5 1/8, 5 7/8, 6 1/2, 7 1/4, 8, 8 1/4, 8 1/2, 8 3/4. Okay, so that will give you something that looks like that. So the two large outer parts are what are going to adhere to the chipboard pieces of the cover. Then we've got these bits that are just giving a little bit of wiggle room and space so that the cover has room to, like, the pages have room to like lay flat and move. And then the 3/4 inch sections, there's 3 double 3/4 inch sections. They are going to be folded, and that's what your pages are going to go onto. And then in between them, we've got 2 1/2 inch sections, or no, sorry, 5/8 inch sections, and that's going to be the space in between your pages. Okay, so now let's set our scoreboard away. This is optional, but if you want to, you can add Tyvek to the back side of your binding. That does make it quite a bit stronger. You don't necessarily have to do that, but it does definitely add to the security of everything. It's not going to rip. I am going to do that. I just haven't cut a piece of Tyvek yet. So I'm just going to put some Tyvek on the back, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got my Tyvek on. Now I'm going to add score tape to each of those 3/4 inch sections. Just the 3/4 inch sections, okay? And I'm adding the score tape on the mountain side, so the side where the raised part of the score line is. The side that I just put the Tyvek on. Okay, now we're going to remove the backing. Just do one section at a time, like one section of 2. I'm going to add just a little bit of wet adhesive. Okay, and then I'm going to fold those closed together and then fold the next line back. And then crease it. Okay, so we've got the 2 3/4 inch sections adhered together, and then I folded back on the 2 score lines that are right next to it. Okay, I hope that makes sense. I'm going to do the next one. So we're adhering the 3/4 inch sections to each other, the ones that are beside each other. Okay, so folding the 2 3/4 inch sections together. Okay, so right now it looks like that. So fold back, fold back. Okay, so we've got the 2 3/4 inch sections here, and we're folding back on those other 2 sections. I think it'll make sense more when you see it. Okay, so here's your 2 bits that you adhered together. And then on either side, we had a piece that folded opposite, okay? If you're unsure, you can go watch part 1, and maybe I explained it differently in part 1. I probably explained it a little bit differently each time. But please note that the score lines between the binding of part 1 and part 2 here are different. So just so you are aware of that. Okay, and crease these really, really well. Okay, and then we're going to, I've got a piece of my hair stuck here. And then just make sure that you also fold those 1/4 inch score lines as well. So we'll just quickly score each of those. Okay, so now we can add score tape to each side of these flanges, so here and here, okay? So these are what our pages are going to slide onto. Okay, perfect. And now we're going to just miter these flanges just a smidge. It just helps to helps the pages to slide on better. So just cutting a little bit at an angle from the edge of each one of these. Don't cut into the 5/8 of an inch section in between the pages though. Okay, so this is what you should have right now. Okay. All right, so bring your cover back in, or all your bits for your cover. Okay, we are going to place your covers down. We want 2 1/4 inches in between the covers. We're going to take our big piece of Tyvek. I'm going to zoom you out just a little bit here. Take our big piece of Tyvek, remove the backing, okay, I'm going to add some wet adhesive here as well. Better safe than sorry, right? I'm going to smooth that out with my finger. Now we're going to place this sticky side up. Place your one cover about around 1 inch in. Okay, and then making sure that we've still got 2 1/4 inches in between, we'll stick our other cover on. Now make sure that it is lined up evenly with the first one. Seems to be. Okay, and then lift this bottom part up and around, and then the top part of the Tyvek comes down and around. Okay, use a bone folder to really get in those creases. Okay, and now we can add our binding. So we need to add some score tape to the 2 large sections here. Okay, and then we're going to adhere it centered onto our center of our spine there. Okay, again adding wet adhesive. This part you really want to stick because this is what's holding your pages into the album. We do have one more. The rest of the Tyvek will also help to adhere this in, but this part is important. Okay, Doesn't matter which side is up, but we just want to make sure that it is centered top to bottom and even left to right. Okay, fabulous. So I want you to note that the actual where the pages are is not attached to the binding itself, like the back there, the spine. Okay, this part is not adhered, just these two bits here. Okay, now we're going to use these two long Tyvek strips as some reinforcement. And they're going to do pretty much the same thing that we did with the big piece, but they're going to go over top of these two side bits just to reinforce them. Okay, so lay it down so that the edge of this piece of chipboard is on the edge of your Tyvek. Okay, and then again, pull this up and around and pull this one down. So it's an extra layer of support going over your binding. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, and there is your cover and binding. So we are going to put our patterned paper on our pages now, and then we can put our pages into our album. Now I'm not going to show you, I'm not going to film adding the pattern paper because it literally takes me hours. So we don't want a 6-hour long video. So I'm going to put most of the paper on off camera. If there's anything extra that happens, I will come back and show you that. But otherwise, you can add your pattern paper in whichever way you like and using whatever collection you like. I do have some lovely collections in my Etsy store, hint, hint, nudge, nudge. And as soon as I'm almost done that, I'll come back and I will show you and we'll finish everything up. Okay, so it is the next day. I have got most of my pattern paper on now. I did wake up with a little bit of a cold this morning, so pardon my nasally voice. You're gonna have to deal with it for the next little bit because I want to get this out to you. So I'll go through things slowly, and if there's anything extra, then we'll do it together. So page 1, actually I'll just put these aside and just go through them page by page. So page 1, I've added a little metal key. I believe it was Prima. I've had it in my stash for ages. So a little key there, and then when you open this up, I just wanted there to be enough pattern paper so that you could see it on the front, but not on the inside. I just wanted there to be as much journaling room as possible, so you could add photos on the top and bottom here, and then the rest of the area for journaling, because that's what I would like it to be for predominantly. Page 2. So on this page, I want to add something here. I think I'm just going to fussy cut out a little bit of the flowers and put them there. Maybe back them on something. Or the lantern. Maybe I'm going to cut out the lantern real quick and back it on some chipboard. Okay, I went with this little milk juggy thing instead of the lantern, and then I put the little bird on top. I did cut off his feet because fussy cutting really isn't my jam, and I ain't got time to cut out tiny little feet. So put him on top, and then put the whole thing on a piece of chipboard, and then put the chipboard on another piece of paper so that when you open it, you'll see some pattern paper and not chipboard. So there's three little layers there, and now I'm just gonna glue it down right here, just overlapping the edge of the flap just a little bit, so you have something to kind of grab onto when you're opening the page. I just like to kind of indicate where things open almost for people who don't do a lot of, you know, album making or whatever, if it's really new. So that way it's kind of obvious that this thing does something. Okay, so I'm just gonna adhere that down there. Okay, and then on the inside, I just did a couple little border strips of the striped purple, and then just some coordinating lilac cardstock, and then the white. So that's it for page 2, and then the coordinating page 3 here. So I didn't want to cut into this image because it was just too pretty, but I do want to indicate that this opens. So my plan is to use, where are you? One of these little ring fasteners from Tim Holtz. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to punch a hole. I've already got my paper on the waterfall part because the hole is going to end up, I'm going to put it there, so it's going to end up here. And because I've already got the paper on, I'm going to add some more fussy cutting images there. But for now, I'm just going to, if you have a crocodile, feel free to use your crocodile. If you don't, you can just use like a craft pick. So I'm going to put the, somewhere around the center. Is that around centered? That's around centered. Okay, so I'm just going to punch a hole all the way through. Make sure it's big enough for the tines to go through. Okay, there we go. Open this up and open up the tines. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of score tape over top of those tines just so they don't come up. Okay, and then I have fussy cut this little watering can and some flowers. So I might have to rethink this design. I might have to cut off. I was thinking of doing that, but it's going to kind of overextend the page. Well, I guess I could just cut the handle off. Yeah, maybe I'll just do that. I'll just kind of like put this together like that and then trim it. Okay, perfect. So I'm just gonna glue the flowers kind of into the pot a little bit, or watering can. My brain is pretty fuzzy right now. There's a lot of neocitrin and such in my system right now, so my brain isn't completely functioning. Okay, perfect. So I'm just going to cut this bit off so it can go to the edge of the page and then re-ink that edge. Might round the corner of this a little bit. Yeah, I think that will work. Okay, perfect. So I'm just going to glue this down. Okay, perfect. And then close these down. I didn't add this piece of paper yet just because I wanted to show you that I did add a magnet going from the top D to the base. I don't think I did that in the actual, when we were constructing the pages in the actual tutorial. So I just wanted to make sure that you saw that. And we'll just add this piece of paper. Okay, and then that closes up, and then this closes. So that was all for page 3, and then page 4 is the one where we had this extra element. I just put a silver, I don't know, it's like a jewelry finding. I've had it for years. So we've got our whole accordion. So I've got white and then pattern paper on those two, white again, and on the back just white at the top, and then pattern or colored cardstock, and then the pattern paper. Okay, so I'm going to just put glue on this half opposite the magnet and then glue it down. The magnet is already in place, so we know where it's supposed to go. It's being grabbed by other magnets though, so that's why it's spinning. But once it's glued down there, it's not going to move. Okay, I'm just going to smooth this a little bit with my fingers. So let it find its magnet buddy and make sure it is straight, and then we can adhere that down. Okay, so now that that is on there, we can just put some pattern paper here. I'll just use some scraps. I've got this scrap. Will that work? Yeah, that'll work. I'm sorry if you can hear noise in the background, or neighbors are like pressure washing or something. I don't know exactly what they're doing, but it sounds very loud to me. I'm not sure if you can hear it or not. Okay, I'm just gonna ink this up real quick. Okay, put that down. Now, if you want to add wet adhesive as well as the double-sided, like the dry adhesive, to your pattern paper as well, feel free to do that. I'm not doing that, but I mean, feel free to do that. Okay, and then on the next page, I just wanted to add something to here. So I wanted to use a little journaling card, but I decided to turn it into a little booklet. So I just cut it down just a tiny bit so it wasn't, I wanted a tiny bit of the border to show. Okay, so I just made a tiny little booklet and added some magnets, and now I'm just going to add some white cardstock in the center and glue that down. Okay, fabulous. And I'll just put some adhesive on the back of this. Okay. Center that left to right. I think that looks pretty good. Okay, and then on the inside, I've just got pattern paper on this one, and then just white everywhere else. And then on the one that goes up, I've got again white and then just pattern paper up there. Okay, so most of it's just room for journaling. And then on the last page, I didn't use much of the stripes, and I wish I had because I really like that. But this one wasn't quite big enough, so I just matted it on some lilac paper. And then you've got the pull out accordion, which is all just white again, and then this I put some of the flower paper on there. I might still add a tiny bit of, like a little bit of the cut aparts or something, do some fussy cutting on there, but I did have this piece cut out, and I thought that I would put that, I think, do I want to overhang it or do I want to put it right in the center? I think I'm just going to put it right in the center, just for a little added extra bit. I have another key. I might put that key there as well. Yeah, that looks really cute. I might put the keys on there as well. Okay, I'm going to use some B7000 glue to adhere those keys on there. I'm gonna put one on and then decide. I haven't decided if I want both of them on or not there. This glue is great because it's got like a tiny little nozzle, which makes it fantastic for little things like this. and it's very strong. I'm gonna leave this key off for now, just in case I decide to use it somewhere else. Okay, so that is all of the page designs. Now we can put our pages into our album. Okay, so we've got our binding system here. We're gonna peel off the tape backing from one of the flanges. Okay, and then I'm gonna put some wet adhesive on both sides. Okay, and then flip these around so I have the right page. Okay, make sure you've got them in the right order and such. Okay, and then open it to, you've got the opening here, and you're just going to slide this onto the flange, and that's all there is to it. It should slide on there pretty easily. Make sure you're kind of centered top to bottom. Looks pretty good. Okay, and give it a press. Okay, and then do your next page and just make sure that the second and third pages are in line and even with the first one. Perfect, and we'll put the next page. Before you let it adhere, make sure it's even. Sorry if my head just got in the way there. Okay, perfect. Okay, and then the last one. Oh, there we go. This one was trying to adhere before I got it into place. Okay, now we just have to do the covers. You'll also want to add a little bit of pattern paper in between your pages. Well, I guess you don't have to, but I think it looks nice to have a little bit of paper in between there. So I'm going to let that glue dry, and I'm going to get some paper cut for my covers. Okay, so here is what I did on the cover. I kept it fairly simple, added one of the cut apart little cards there, and some fussy cut some flowers, a couple little butterflies, and that other key. And just the flower paper on the spine, and then that on the back. And then on the inside, I kind of did like a little bit of a collage kind of thing with the scraps that I had. I don't like to throw anything away, so I wanted to use up those scraps. And then just a photo mat or a little place to write something. And then I've just got some pink in between the pages. And then on the back, again, just a little bit of kind of paper piecing, collaging, and then a place for a photo or journaling. So here is our completed album. If you did enjoy this tutorial, please consider subscribing or hitting that little like button. It lets YouTube know that you are enjoying my content. And thank you so much to everyone who bought me a coffee this month. It is very, very appreciated, and I love you for it. Huge hugs to you. Be sure to hit that bell notification because there are so many projects in the works. A couple with Victoria Designs and some with my own design paper and some polymer clay things coming up. So stay tuned for all of that. And I love you all. I hope you're having a beautiful day, and I will see you again very, very soon. Bye!